Donald Trump's aide, who's given out a stunning remark with regards to the Ukraine war. He's labeled the Ukraine conflict as Modi's war. Statement coming in from the United States of America. India-Russia oil trade is now burdening the US taxpayers. India must stop buying oil from Russia. 25% tariff relief will be given to India if India stops buying oil from Russia. Big statement coming in from the United States of America. The crucial part is that some in the US are now labeling the Russia-Ukraine conflict as Prime Minister Modi's war. My colleague Rohit Sharma is now joining me from Washington, D.C. Rohit, what are you hearing in the United States of America? Do you believe this tug-of-war will continue? India very clearly has said that the need of the hour is for them to be buying oil from Russia. It's not as if India is not buying oil from the United States of America. But now these kind of statements labeling the Russia-Ukraine war as Prime Minister Modi's war.
Well, look, we see one statement in the morning, that's my morning here in Washington, D.C., where one Trump, closest advisor, I would say, Kevin Hassett, goes on and talks about that in the end, he believes that it will happen. The trade deal will happen in the end. And, he mocks the Indian rupee and he says things about frustrations with the Indian side not being able to get a trade deal done. And remember, this is true. I mean, India was one of the first countries that wanted to get a trade deal done way back in March. And every 2 weeks after that, we used to hear the fact that, there could be a trade deal soon. So essentially, there is one faction that believes that, yes, eventually a trade deal can take place and will happen. And the other one, and in this case, Peter Navarro goes on, American news channel and talks about how India is funding this war, which President Trump wants desperately to end. And that calls it Modi's war, which is, again, not a diplomatic tone that we would use to with a partner or an ally. So it is very confusing. But most people do believe that, yes, there will be light at the end of the tunnel. The relationship is too important. They want to be able to succeed in making this trade deal happen, which will benefit both the nations. But the rhetoric is actually alarming. And we've never seen somebody anywhere in the world, call the Russia-Ukraine war as Modi's war, and in fact, putting the onus on India to end this war so that they could take off the additional 25% tariff. So it's kind of misplaced, and I think that's what most people are struggling with, trying to understand if India has red lines on certain sectors, and if President Trump has, wants India to stop buying oil from Russia, how would this all end, right? And it doesn't add up. So yes, as we said, there are talks happening, back channels are talking. We saw that 2+2 2 days ago in Washington, D.C., but I think a lot remains to be seen as to how this would come to fold.
Well, Rohit, expect the unexpected. That was the least that the world was prepared for when Donald Trump became the president of the United States of America. But the big questions, will there actually be a trade deal? Because the negotiators who were coming from the United States of America, they're not coming anymore. Can you hear me, Rohit?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Actually, I thought you were just making a comment. No, yes, they're not. They're not traveling to India. I'm sorry. I thought you were, closing this. Yes, they're not traveling to India. But look, Ashra, I mean, things can happen. Things have happened. And one thing I always tell and say is that President Trump can change his mind. He has in the past about a lot of things, and we could all see, in a week, 2 weeks time, 3 weeks time, a month's time. You never know where, one meeting, one positive sign could, change his mind. And one important thing that I want to mention, Ashra, is the fact that, every time he brings up the Prime Minister, even yesterday in that cabinet meeting, he called Prime Minister Modi a terrific leader. Kevin Hassett called the relationship between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump as a great relationship. And so did Peter Navarro, while he was, rebranding this as Modi's war. He said, Prime Minister Modi is a great leader. So yes, there is some frustration on the American side. But I also believe that, we could see things may change and change quite rapidly, if there are some positive steps that could take place between now and some people say in the next few weeks or a month.
Right, Rohit, do you also believe that, personal equations that the US president has with a lot of leaders, do you believe they are also becoming a deciding factor?
I think in India's case, it definitely has, right? I mean, we can see the fact that, it's playing a role now. Is it about, him not liking the fact that, Prime Minister Modi did not, do what Pakistanis did, right, after Operation Sindoor. So it's all up to conjectures at this point in time. But he's a firm believer in having that personal relationship. And to tell our viewers the fact that, when all the European leaders were here 10 days ago, he was flaunting the fact that he shares a great relationship with President Putin, and he
Right.
believes that his personal relationship could put an end to that war. So we'll have to wait and watch, but he is a firm believer in having one-on-one relationship with all foreign leaders.
Thank you, Rohit, giving us all those details. My colleague Rohit Sharma joining us from Washington, D.C.